Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button. I'm a granite sculptor. Do a quick video on clay. I use Roma Plastilina. The plastilina I've got is old. A lot of it's from various masters and sculptors that I've worked with. Bought a large quantity from a sculptor who was transitioning to a sulfur-free product that he preferred, that his Foundry preferred. And but for what I do, Roma works great. Now, old Roma gets really hard. Like I've got a chunk of old St. Francis here, and he served his purpose well, but it's time to go back in the bucket. So got a bunch of clay we've stripped off of some old models, and when I got most of this Roma, it was either built up as old models or maquettes, or it was discarded, and it seems to dry out and get hard. It doesn't. It just gets very, very, I don't know, brittle. And so you have these pieces, and they'll deform a little bit, but if you try to work with it, this is very tedious. You can put it in a pot, keep it warm. If you get it too hot, it'll come out of emulsion, and you'll have some loss of the oil product that's in it, which isn't good. Changes the consistency, makes it slippery, slimy to work with. We've had some that we modified and added oil to try to make it softer. That doesn't necessarily work as well either. And to do it all by hand, to wedge it, just doesn't make sense. You can keep it in like an old refrigerator with a light bulb, and that can keep it warm, soft, or out in the sun. And if you're using smaller quantities, that's not a big deal. But for what I do, I want it to be nicely wedged, nice consistency, and so I end up using something out of the Foundry business. This is called a rammer, and this is used to pack sand or French sand in around a positive, and it's got a trigger. It's kind of like a needle scaler, but you pull the trigger and it runs. So you can take that to knead this, and in just a few seconds you can do a lot of work. Now, the nice thing about this will help expose any debris that's in the clay, whether it's stuff from the shop, pieces of old mold material, like that, or old rubber, and so it's real easy to knead it, to make it very homogeneous again, to clean it up, and then I can wedge it down, fold it, laminate it several times, and it will be just like new clay, actually better than new clay. Now you can see, you can turn it around. It's got some inconsistencies. I've been able to get a few more pieces out, little bits of junk, and they just pop right out, and then you're cleaning your clay as you go. This works well, really well when it's warm. It's cool today. It's only about 50 right now. It's not very warm outside in terms of clay, but this wedges up really fast. Then we can take it, turn it, just keep going. Now you can see this is a lot nicer now, a lot more consistent. It's pretty soft. When you wedge earth clay, you'll put it in a bucket of water and sediment it out, soak it, decant it, pour off the water, and then you'll take the mass and you work it against a plaster wedge, and you'll throw it and you'll squeeze it and you'll do whatever. With this, wedging it just, I think, produces a nicer product. Now, this clay is special to me because this comes from everybody I've worked with. I've used it at festivals where we've had just open tables with people to come and do work, and they can come and make things. There's a lot of creativity in this clay. So I like to use it because it's made, really everything I've ever carved is in this clay because I've made the design, the conceptual work. I've done a lot of it. So I want to preserve it and make it nice. And then I could take and run it into a block. Keep cleaning every little bit of stuff out of it. But then it's a lot softer now. It'll actually wedge more into its own, under its own weight. And if I work with the clay on the model, this gives me clay that's all consistent in terms of its hardness, consistency, the way I want it to be. And I'm probably going to cut it all up anyways. But this way, if I want to take a piece and work it with my hands, it's a lot more consistent. Then once I get it kind of close, you can cut it right off, and then it just goes in the bucket with the rest of the clay. And I'll work this next piece into the next one because it needs the same treatment. So that's one way to wedge your clay, especially if you use an old Roma. A lot of times you can get it for very cheap or next to nothing because the old stuff seems to be really hard and it really disappoints people. I really like this rammer. It's not what it's made for in terms of using it for clay, but it works really, really well. And it's salvaged hundreds of pounds of clay for me. So I've got plenty to use whenever I'm ready. Right now I'm stripping models and putting the clay back in the bucket. So this is how I wedge clay. But once again, my name's Clint Button here at Carolina Sculpture Studio. Thanks for stopping by.